Before we get started, I want to drop a little trigger warning on this episode. It's very common for Tofu and I to get into some very heavy topics and also use some pretty strong language. If you're not in a place to absorb potentially triggering subjects, please come back when you're feeling more up to it. Click off now. We're not experts and do not claim to be on many topics we will be discussing. We're always speaking from our own experiences, so please use your discernment and seek advice from the appropriate expert or medical professional before taking on any advice or statements. We are humans who are still learning. If there is anything discussed during this episode that you believe is untrue or requires correcting, please do not hesitate to contact us. We would absolutely love to hear from you. Today, I'm super excited to announce we have our first guest on. It is our lovely friend Diamond.
Diamond is an online content creator, an influencer, and a business owner. She's also studying an advanced diploma of dermal science.
She's a jack of all trades, and I'm super excited to talk to her about a very interesting topic. So
all over the place. Yeah, absolutely. She's had an invisible illness for a big portion of her life, and while doing that, she's been modelling for 12 years. She's running multiple businesses. She's doing absolutely everything. So if you want to check her out, we will put her link in the description. It is at DIAMANTSXICIDE. But the link will be below if that's too difficult for you.
All right, ready, let's go.
All right, today we are talking about my favourite subject. It's not really.
What? You don't enjoy this subject?
No.
Weird.
Well,
it's so much fun. What do you mean?
We're talking about invisible illnesses. What are invisible illnesses? Well, a lot of things. They're things that people suffer from that affect their livelihood on a day-to-day basis that you cannot see from the outside. So a lot of disabilities, mental health, as well as physical illnesses, not just mental.
Yeah, and I think today we're going to be mostly focusing on physical because we have a lot of shared experience with that. We have a shared experience of the mental health side as well. But I think that most people do think of mental health related stuff when they talk about this. Even I mentioned it to someone today. They asked what I was doing today and I said I was filming this later. And when I said invisible illness, they said, oh, mental illness?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, actually today we're not talking about mental illness. We're talking about physical illness, but the ones that you can't see. And they were a bit confused. So I think it's talked about a little bit less.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe.
We will touch on mental illness another time. That deserves its entire own episode.
Probably many other times.
Probably a few episodes if we're going to be real. But yeah, today we wanted to talk about the physical illnesses that affect quite a lot of people and us.
Yay! Us, as in us you already know. And also our guest today.
Our guest, lovely Diamond. This is our beautiful friend.
To be fair, if you know us, you probably know
who
Never. No. Never been in the same room.
No. This is the first time.
Will we again?
No, I have no idea.
No.
Why are you in our house?
You definitely don't match or anything.
No, yeah, what the hell? If you're watching the video, we totally matched today. It was not deliberate, but we do, which is great. But yeah, so Diamond.
Hi.
What are you diagnosed with?
Well, mine actually, it's not I have mental health stuff, but one of the things I have fibromyalgia and it is caused from physical and or mental trauma. Mine's from a physical trauma that had mental with it because a lot of the time physical trauma comes with mental trauma.
Yes.
And then chronic fatigue syndrome, which is also caused from all of that. So
Are they two separate diagnoses?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But they use there's very much hand in hand.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was sort of my understanding that fibro has a lot of fatigue and that sort of stuff tied to it. So I find it interesting that it's two separate diagnoses, but they obviously go very much hand in hand as much as I understand at least.
I'm so lucky.
Yay!
So
love my life.
what are the what are the symptoms that you specifically experience with that, and what does that sort of look like for you on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis?
Okay.
How much time we got?
Yeah. I'm trying to like condense it. So it's basically like a chronic widespread pain condition. I have been in pain for the last 11 years, like full stop. That's in one way or another been in constant pain for the last 11 years. It also comes with like nerve things. There is touch sensitivity, as we were talking about like tonight, temperature sensitivity. And just like, you know, I can randomly feel like I'm being attacked by fire ants. And like just doing nothing. So it's
Can relate. Yeah, good.
So does that vary from, I'm assuming, your everyday base level of pain to debilitating?
Yeah, so there's like a lot of different like things that will change it. You know, having your period is going to change how well you're sleeping, which is going to like add to the pain and stuff like that. The kind of jobs that you have, even, you know, like seeing my family, like my nephews and stuff like that, if I'm helping other people, it's, so I have to try and like plan very well and almost plan flares.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to have a day of flaring in like on the 17th of May, and that's it for the month. Thank you, goodbye.
So what, do you just push through until you get to that point and then just allow your body to collapse?
Yeah.
Or is there some sort of amount that you can retain it until then?
It's kind of like so I don't know if you guys have heard of the spoon theory.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys have talked about it or not, but essentially like you're borrowing spoons, aka energy, from the day, like the next day and the day after that. And like a normal person might have like 30 spoons a day, and on a bad day I can have 4, and like I might be able to bathe myself, cook myself food, and then I have to like figure out what other 2 things that are necessities that I can actually do. And I can get like a spoon from the next day, but then I don't know if I'm even going to have any spoons to get from the next day.
Yeah.
And so you run on empty quite a lot.
Yeah, we haven't talked about spoon theory on here, but it is something that we use in our personal lives quite often. Yeah. And with our close circle. So I think it's worth explaining a little bit for people who don't know who it is and what it is. Which it comes from, was it birth by fibromyalgia, or was it a different condition that birthed it? Was it
I'm
MS?
Not sure.
I think it might have been MS.
I think it might have been MS. Don't quote me on that though, because
if you're listening
not sure.
and you know exactly where it's from, please send us a message. And
let us know. Now that we're saying it, I do think it was from MS, but I'm not entirely sure on that. Some sort of fatigue condition, or condition that has a heavy symptom of fatigue, I should say. And spoon theory essentially says that on any specific day, you wake up with a specific amount of spoons that will relate to essentially the energy level that you have to spend on things that day. So you might wake up with 30 spoons, or you might wake up with 3 spoons, just depending on how well your body is doing that day, your mind is doing that day, depending on how you use spoon theory and what your illness, specifically people usually use it with invisible illness. Not to say it's restricted to that, it's really widely used now. And for different people, different activities will cost different spoons. So say one of my weird high spoon activities, which is really a very low effort task, but a high spoon task for me, is brushing my teeth. I don't know why. I do not dislike brushing my teeth. I always brush my teeth.
For me.
Shaving, perfect example. It's not a particularly high energy task, but for some reason, my brain, I usually use spoon theory relating to mental illness most of the time, unless I'm having a particular flare. But for some reason, teeth brushing for me is just high spoon energy. So it's like making myself dinner might only be 2 spoons, but for whatever reason, brushing my teeth cost me 4 spoons. I don't know why. So if I only wake up with 6 spoons that day, I'm fucking brushing my teeth, making a meal, and then I can do nothing else because I only had 6 spoons and brushing my teeth is necessary and cost 4.
Yeah, showering is a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Showering's really big, especially when I am flaring because I have to stand.
Yeah.
Showering seems to be quite a with a lot of people with physical invisible illness seems to be quite a common high spoon activity.
Yeah, showering, it's like a whole lot of things. I have to stand, I have to like do things, and I have to like dry myself. And when you're flaring in pain, like drying yourself on your skin, not good.
Not just that though, but like it sucks because it's a double-edged sword, and one of the things that really makes me feel better is heat. So standing in the shower, like if I'm not super low in spoons, it can kind of like, it takes spoons, but it can also give a little bit.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
if you've gone past the bit where it's actually going to help you, it's just pure torture.
Yeah, so that's what Diamond was referring to, and they're talking about taking spoons from a following day. Is, you know, maybe you only have 5 spoons today, but you need to get this, and this done, and that costs 10 spoons. So tomorrow it's probably going to cost even more of your spoons from tomorrow because you've kind of screwed yourself over today, doing more than you really should have allowed yourself to do, but you just had to for whatever reason because you have work or family commitments or romantic commitments, or you needed to go out with your friends. It's a really important friend's birthday or something. Whatever it is that you personally feel like you need to use those spoons for, or you need to so you don't lose your job or whatever.
You need to be an adult in capitalist world.
Actually,
in capitalist land.
Another thing is like doctor's appointments takes a lot of spoons as well. So, which is dumb because you're trying to help yourself.
Ironic. Yes. Very ironic. The next question that I had for you, which is one that I'm really interested in, and I think is one of the biggest issues that people deal with when they have invisible illness of all kinds, is how do the people around you, so your close circle, your family, your friends, and then, you know, the circle above that, which is, you know, maybe your co-workers or people that you see on a relatively regular basis, your doctors, those sorts of things, how do they perceive your illness, and how much can they actually empathize and sympathize, and how much of it is misconception and maybe some ignorance around the topic?
So weirdly enough, my dad's actually had chronic pain my whole life basically, and he is one of the worst for it.
Interesting.
Because I was early 20s with my car accident, and he is almost of the thought that he is in so much pain but I could not possibly.
You couldn't possibly.
My mum's pretty good.
You're young
but my
and
dad,
sprightly.
and that's like a generic thing that I get with doctors as well. Like, oh no, you're too young to be in pain. I'm like literally sitting there crying, unable to sit up in like baggy clothes. I can't have most things touching me. I'm flaring, and I'm sitting there going, I'm too young.
I have an interesting story similar that we'll talk about in a little bit. I had the same feedback from a doctor, which I think is a common thing. What about friends or people that you come across in those sorts of settings?
You have to like surround yourself with people that aren't going to drain your spoons, who are going to understand, and especially if it's people that I see, you know, more often, they're going to have to understand that I'm going to be in comfortable clothes and we can go have coffee, but I'm going to have my glasses on the whole time because I have a headache. And, you know, there's just certain things that will need to happen. And I'm pretty good. I probably am pushing myself too much from the outside. Like a lot of people, because I'm studying and doing 2 jobs, so they're like, oh my God, like, how do you do this? And it's like, you don't see, like, me most of the time. So I surround myself with people that will understand me, and weirdly enough, a lot of spoonies, a lot of chronic illness people, we just collect each other, because if you don't have something, it's very hard to understand. Like partners, they come into it and they start, you know, with the kind gestures, and after a while it's like, but why? Like, why can't you just go hiking every day?
I think that's a common thing that I've heard a lot from partners of mine about their ex-partners. It's like at first they're very empathetic and they're very understanding, but eventually they're like sort of start to get maybe build a bit of resentment, like our life is boring, you never want to do anything, you never, and of course it's not they never want to do anything. That's just not the case. But that is a common thing that I have heard from partners in my life about around surrounding their ex-partners or maybe close friends of theirs that have this perception that they're boring or they're
lazy.
just lazy, very common one. Boring, lazy, they never want to do anything. You never do anything to show me you love me. You never take me to this fancy places all the time and organise exciting things and all this sort of stuff. And of course I'm sure there are many, many valid situations for that. But if your partner is someone that has chronic illness in any way, whether it's invisible or not, it's definitely something that you have to understand going into it. And if you don't want to be in a relationship with someone that is in that space, if that doesn't fit into your life plan, then you just shouldn't be dating that person.
Don't do it.
But
just
the
please
thing
don't
is,
do
like,
it.
I get it 100%, but you don't know what's going to happen in your life.
Yeah,
Like
that's
car
true.
accidents.
Very true.
Mine was from a car accident. They happen all the time. Like, you know, people that do go hiking, go, you know, bike riding, like whether it's mountain biking or dirt bikes, there's high probability you're going to hurt yourself and at a young age not be able to like be normal anymore. So like, do I then go into it and being like, actually, like, as soon as you're broken, bye.
Yeah, that's a good point. Where do you draw the line? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've heard from able-bodied people is the lazy thing. I get the lazy thing, and I'm a bit of my own worst enemy in that sense because I am very high functioning and I can be very extroverted too. Like I'm very loud, and a lot of people think I'm very extroverted. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna.
It's a lie.
I'm just gonna real quickly make sure everybody understands I'm not an extrovert. But I've been in lots of very social circles. My job life has been around lots of people, so I know how to interact with a lot of people all the time, and I can put the mask on, I can be bubbly and all of that kind of thing, and I can look like I have lots of energy. Yeah. But then when it comes to my like private life, from the outside, if you have no idea what's happening, I can look lazy, in quotes, lazy, but in reality, I'm just trying to collect myself, trying to look after myself. I'm laying there with a heat pack on my neck, you know, I'm laying underneath a bed, underneath blankets in bed, you know, kind of thing. And I've had I've had a few able-bodied people kind of be like, oh, just go to the gym, you'll feel better.
My favourite.
You know, that kind of thing. And I'm like, I do enjoy going to the gym when I have the energy to go to the gym, but going to the gym is a double-edged sword for me because it causes me more pain. Yep. On top of the pain I would have already had. So it's like, and having pain all the time affects you mentally very, very heavily. So you end up kind of going into this vicious cycle of, oh my God, I'm in pain again. And then you get real down and low. And it's like, if I can do anything to avoid that real low, I will. Yeah. So, and if that means I need to be lazy, in quotes, lazy, then I will be.
It's no different to getting the flu though. Like man flu is a thing and we literally baby our partners when they have a man flu. So, and we're not asking to be babied, that's the thing. Yeah. Like they assume that we're asking to be babied. No, just like maybe make me a cup of tea, ask if I'm okay, and then, you know, just treat me like a human. Treat me like you love me and I'm your partner.
Yeah, that's definitely a big one that I've experienced. Like they think that we expect more from them when in reality we've had this conversation, Tofu.
Yeah, we've discussed this before.
We've had a very heavy, intense conversation about this before. When we're like that, I'm sure you can probably relate to, Diamond, but when you just want everyone to leave you alone. You actually, you don't
I don't want to be babied. I've been doing this 27 years of my life already. This didn't just start happening yesterday. Yeah. I don't need you to baby me along. If you want to be sweet about it, I will appreciate that. But a lot of people do have that expectation that you want or need to be babied, that you need to be taken care of. Yeah. And I'm always like, I was doing this long before you got here, all on my own. Yeah. And if you want to be nice and sweet and, make me a cup of tea or do whatever, tuck me into bed, kiss me on my forehead, amazing. I will appreciate that, absolutely. But at the end of the day, what I want to do is go into my little hole and do whatever I need to do to recover, to be a fully formed human being again, so I can be a good partner for you and be good at my job and be good for myself and all these sorts of things.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty common that people like us do want to be left alone in those situations. And the best thing, if you are an able-bodied person who is friends with or close to, has a partner, family member, whatever, that has an invisible illness, the best thing you can do is just say, do you need anything from me?
What can I do?
Is there anything
Do you need anything? And if they don't even really respond, I just go, that means no.
That means get the fuck away from me.
That means
not because I don't love you, but probably because you're doing something that is sending off a sensory issue, because you are required. Often my experience has been I end up feeling really guilty because someone really wants to help me, and I appreciate that so much. But there's nothing you can do, and then I feel guilty because then they get upset because they can't help me, but really nothing can help me. It just needs time and rest or whatever, whatever it needs. But most of the time, nothing that someone externally can do will help me. So doing something passive, if you can think of something, like just bringing them a cup of tea,
or even just
leaving
doing
it there.
the dishes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like just, if you notice that we're not well, pick up a bit of the slack. Like relationships aren't 50-50.
Yeah.
And
it ebbs and flows.
It's not going to be a thing. Like the only time I've really asked my ex that I was with for 5 years, I was with him like a year after the car accident. So he did get the worst of me. I'm not going to say like I'm perfect in any way, but like my Fabry diagnosis was pushed to actually be a thing as soon as my legs went completely numb one day. And then the next day I could kind of feel, but I was in excruciating nerve pain. But, I would be like, I need to have a bath. Can you just like be near your phone so I can call you and you can come pick me out of the bath, and then I'll go to bed and you go back into the shed, do whatever you want to do. Like, it's cool. I just literally need you physically for 1 minute. And it was not a great body time sometimes, and there was many tears, like not to do with him, just like pain makes you cry and angry at the same time.
Angry
and you can't scream, so you just cry even more. But, even those things, like I'm literally just asking you to be near your phone so I can be like, can you come get me? And even then I had to figure out a way to like safely get out of the bath, because if he was asleep at 3 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't sleep because of pain insomnia, I had to like have a towel next to me, and I'd let the water out and put the towel down, and then maneuver, like it took 10 minutes, but I did it. But even then, like at my worst, I would be like cooking dinner for us, and because I don't want to be a burden. And I hate that word, but that's how I felt, and I still do.
Tofi, you touched on the sensory thing before as well. Like that's a big thing for a lot of people that have pain. So don't be like touching people or being too loud and stuff like that too much. No constant touching in the same spot, please.
Oh, in the same spot, because a lot of us, our skin gets really sensitive. And when you rub, especially if you rub the same spot over and over, it gets like sandpaper.
It's like sitting there scratching constantly.
It's like any of the senses kind of thing. So again, if you are an able-bodied person, be aware of like bright lights, sound, touch, that kind of stuff, and just be aware of that and making sure that you're not making it worse for your loved one, whoever your loved one is.
And like especially a lot of sound, like if you, my ex used to do it all the time, and when I was really bad I would actually be like, shut up, because it would be something on the phone that he's watching while he's watching TV, while he's like talking to me, and I'm just like, I cannot, like, please turn that one off, pause or mute that and talk to me. I literally, like, I feel like I'm being punched in the face. Like, I cannot handle it, and it just makes your anxiety worse, which makes your pain worse, which makes it, like, go down a rabbit hole, and it's literally torture.
Of course, so everyone's different. Like, I am super good with sound. Sound will never bother me. Whether I'm having a terrible time or at my best self, physically, mentally, I could be next to a moving train and fall asleep. Like, it just doesn't. Sound is never something that bothers me. I'm just not that sensitive to sound, and so it's not an issue. And everyone's different, but I can promise you, anyone who has had any sort of chronic illness for any decent amount of time will be able to tell you what their things are.
Yeah.
So you can just ask.
Mm-hmm.
You can just ask them what are
don't
the
be
things
afraid.
that get on your nerves.
Yeah.
In fact, it helps me if I'm really, really sick and I'm like lying in bed trying to get to bed and my partner's there. It would help me if they watched a TV show or did something because I like the background noise. It helps me, it takes my mind off it. It makes my mind race less on like negative thoughts or thinking about pain or feeling anxious about whatever's my body's doing. And it helps me, but there are other things that really negatively affect me. So it just depends on the person, and they're probably going to be able to tell you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Almost all the time, yeah.
They'll know.
Unless they're new, unless maybe this is just a new experience for them and they're just learning. But most people with chronic illness have had it either most of their life or their whole adult life.
They're well into it. Yeah. They'll know. Yeah, they'll definitely know. They'll probably even be able to tell you, like for me, if I'm not feeling good and I'm laying in bed, I'll have my pillow on my head. That's like a habit that I do. So if anyone ever walks into my room and I have a pillow over my head, I'm not good. That's like a real easy way of knowing I never do it when I'm good. I only do it when I'm not good. It's the easiest thing to pick up on me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so most people will be able to communicate that to you.
Yeah.
So I know that we all have a little bit of experience with going through doctors and that sort of thing. Well, you've been to the doctor most recently. You're in the doctor today.
I went to the doctor today.
Start with yours?
Yay!
I'm just going to add, like, as somebody with a chronic illness, that can be a 10-spoon day.
Yes. Big
my work, I only did one appointment today at work. And then I came home and did some stuff at home and before I went to the doctor instead of like piling myself up until the doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Intentionally for that reason. Although saying I love my GP, she is absolutely amazing and I feel very privileged to have actually found a good GP. I found her a couple of years ago and amazing. She's really just been really good with anything I've ever brought up with her. I saw her 6.5 weeks ago. So this was like a follow-up appointment. The last appointment I told her about that I think I have Diamond's diagnosis, which is fibromyalgia. That one of the reasons why I did that is because Diamond told me to.
I didn't tell you to. I very gently was like, look, all these things you're saying are exactly what I have. And I definitely like don't want to ever force anyone to like be pushed into a diagnosis, but it does help having a like, oh no, this is it. Even if you just feel less alone. I'm just going to add that in, like,
especially with an invisible illness that you can't, do a blood test for.
Yeah.
Something that's not so easy to find.
It's literally
it's really
like,
good
it's
to
none
have
of these,
a
so it's that.
suggestion.
Yeah.
So that you have somewhere to go from, because otherwise it's going through every other test to rule out anything else it possibly could be, and then years down the line, which is how I ended up, years down the line, eventually you go, oh, well, maybe it's that other thing.
Yeah.
The only thing that's left. And things like fibro are really, really difficult diagnosis to come to. So to have someone suggest that to you so you can actually look into it with your doctor is very useful for those sorts of situations.
Yeah, Diamond wasn't the first person to suggest it to me either. I have another friend that I've been friends with for quite some time who has fibro as well. And he made a comment to me a couple of years ago when he had a migraine and I helped him with his migraine, and he was like, how do you know what to do with migraines? And I was like, well, funny about that is I get them all the time. So not the first time I've heard about it. So I got the courage up, woohoo, and went in. Yeah, yay, go me, pat myself on the back. Went in and she was really lovely. They have a fibromyalgia checklist that you can fill out, which is very interesting, and yay, I passed.
Or failed.
I'm
going with pass, okay?
Yeah.
We always spin it to positive.
Yeah. Yes, I passed. Woohoo, go me. I got a high score on fibromyalgia. And following that conversation, I spoke about going to what's it called?
Rheumatologist or
Neurologist, the brain one.
Brain boy.
My GP agreed with that, but I don't know any. So my GP, who is amazing, said that she would ask her friend who has multiple sclerosis, MS, and see which neurologist she goes to. And I also got some medication off her, and then I would come back in 6 or 7 weeks and we would go over it again. So my visit today, I got a referral to a female neurologist
Ooh.
in the city, which is super exciting. And I got some more of my medication. I didn't use all of them, which is great. I still have a few left. And I did say that, but she was happy to give me another script because I won't be seeing her again for a little while.
Yeah.
But she also wants me to blood test, which I don't like at all. And it's a really big one. There's heaps of commas and stuff.
Letters.
So there's like
So many letters.
there's like 4 or 5 stickers. I have to get so much blood taken out.
Yes, we've all been there before.
And I'm like so not looking forward to that. But one of the things that she wants to test for, just to rule it out, is what's it called? Arthritis. There's like a There's a specific kind of
rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah, to rule that out, you can rule that out with a blood test. So she's like, let's just rule it out, which I'm fine with. I'm like, whatever, give me a blood test. And the last blood test I got with her was in 2020, and she just decided to include all of the sexual health on there as well. I didn't ask, but she included it all because that was my last blood test with her, which I was stoked with.
Yeah.
It's just included in.
Sure,
so I was like, yeah, fucking test me for everything. So I love that. I'm going to retest my iron levels and things like that. I had to go through some of my life history, which was great, but she's super understanding, which I feel really privileged for. But that has not been my experience up until a couple of years ago when I found her. Previously, I've been on several different kinds of medications to help with migraines or pain. One of them, which I didn't know at the time because the doctor didn't tell me, which is weird, dumb, but anyway, is a depression medication that they also use for people that have nerve pain, apparently. And it literally made me a piece of cardboard. Because I don't have depression. I have depressive episodes. Yes, I do have depressive moments, but I don't think I have depression. I'm much more anxious than I am depressed. So if you give me...
I just got all of it. I was like...
Bit of everything.
Yeah. If you give me an antidepressant, I'm just going to be like, and be nothing of a person. And then I went back to the same clinic but saw a different GP, and I remember this so clearly. She freaked out that I was on that medication and told me to immediately stop taking it, which you're not supposed to immediately stop taking mental health medication. You're supposed to wean off it.
Yeah.
And she freaked out so heavily at me that it made me panic. So anyway, that was really bad. I've had CT scan before for my migraines. That showed nothing because that just shows tumours and stuff, which I don't have.
It shows cysts as well. I have a cyst.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I apparently didn't at the time, but that was 10 years ago. So you never know. Maybe I did.
I wonder what that giant lump on your head was.
His name's Bob.
So yeah, I've had all of that. I've had, weirdly enough, an ultrasound on the back of my neck,
Yeah.
which is super interesting. Yeah, no GP has ever really been able to help me until my current one. They tend to... I've been told that I'm only feeling pain around my period, even though I'm not only feeling it around my period, and it has very little to do with my period, especially because I was on the pill and skipped my period for a very long time. So I was like, no, it's not around my period. And they're like, yes, it is. And I was like, I don't even have my period, but they didn't believe me on that.
How dare you think you know about your own body?
Yeah.
How could you?
I had one doctor, which was really strange. I don't know why he did this, actually. Really weird. Anyway, I was talking to him and he did the normal questionnaire, which is do you drink, do you smoke, whatever. And at the time I didn't drink. I barely drink now, but at the time I was completely sober. So I was like, no, I don't drink. And I also told him at the time I didn't smoke. I don't think I was at the time. I don't think I lied that time. Sometimes I lie about smoking, but I didn't lie that time. And then he kept going, do you smoke? Like this at me with this weird tone to it.
No.
And I was like, I don't know what you mean. Like, he literally kept asking me, and then I ended up saying, I don't know what you're implying. I don't know what you mean. And then he said it again with this more like, do you smoke like this? And I was like, does this guy mean am I high all the time? Because
and ask him I'm high. Yeah, I'm lying. I'm confused.
And I was really confused because most people that are really close to me know I was pretty much completely sober until I was 26. Like, I drank a little tiny bit in high school, but then I stopped until I was completely sober as an adult until I was 26. So it was like, no, I'm not on any drugs. It was really strange. He was questioning everything that I was saying because he was assuming I was on drugs.
It's all the tattoos.
Yeah, I'm just so rebellious. I've got coloured hair and a full-time job.
Party animals.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, now we've moved on to a much better doctor, and we're on the road.
Yes,
As of last
saying
week.
that. Yeah, you
As of last week.
Yeah, you found a really awesome
Yeah.
doctor last week as well.
And like as most chronic illness things are, it was via referral. One of my friends who also has chronic, or one of our friends who also has chronic illnesses, because I couldn't get into your doctor.
Yeah, she was
Rude.
busy.
Literally, so like the doctor before that, no matter what it was, like I get ear infections and stuff like that, and I have since I was a kid. He would like say things and I'd ask questions because like I'm quite proactive with my health. I have to be. And it was just like a question. I can't even remember what it was. But it's happened a few times now where I've asked questions to have a better understanding and he just ignores me. He just turns to his computer and is like, and starts typing, and it's just like, I'm not even like talking about my chronic illness, I'm not talking about pain, I'm not asking for medication, I'm trying to get an understanding of my health because I need to advocate for myself for the rest of my life regarding all of my health, and you're just ignoring me. And I literally, doctors for me, if it's a new doctor or this doctor, because I would see him a little bit and he didn't want to give me the medication a pain specialist has prescribed to me while I was in hospital, also seeing a neurologist and a psychiatrist. And so he'd give me like different medications that like just gave me shit symptoms.
A very
like
common one,
restless legs a lot.
unfortunately. Restless legs. That is it's so like, it's such like a little thing, right? It's such a little thing, but honestly, it is one of the worst symptoms that I get.
It's like water torture.
It is horrible, and I always get it when I'm going to sleep. And just recently, like in the last 6 months, it's still called restless leg, because no matter where you get it, it's called restless leg syndrome. But I get it in my arms.
Yeah, in your hand.
Oh God, it is pure torture. And it's like, for me, a lot of it is, I don't know if it feels super similar for everyone or if it varies quite a bit, I'm not sure. But for me, the worst part is like, I am exhausted. Like, it's 5 a.m. and I haven't slept all night because of it. And all I want to do is go to sleep. But every time I do, it's almost like, you know, when you're falling asleep and then you feel like you're falling? It's like this, I feel like it's something that you can't describe to someone who hasn't felt it. It is this insatiable need to move my limb or limbs.
Even if it's just like a little bit, like, you know.
Yeah, even if it's just like, I can just like move one finger sometimes. Or sometimes I'll have to do the whole arm and I'll like flick it out and it'll be fine for like maybe 2 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. But it's like, it's not like I don't twitch. My body doesn't move for me.
It's like internally.
My brain just tells me you have to move your arm. You have to move your arm. And a lot of people are just like, well, what if you just don't move it? What if you just didn't and you just let it go away? And I'm like, you don't understand.
Go away.
It's like saying, why don't you just stand in the middle of a burning fire and let your skin burn? No, your body says jump out of the fire. It is, I know that sounds like such an extreme example, but it is similar to that feeling that you have to do it. It is not a twitch, but my body says you have to move that limb. And it is the friggin' worst feeling in the whole world. Oh my God. I have serious restless leg trauma.
Well, these medications were just making it worse. Medication wasn't giving me like diazepam or which I had been prescribed by the pain specialist also. He wasn't giving me my slow release painkiller, which helps keep my flares and my pain generally lower. And he was like trying me on different things, and it just like not being on what I needed to be on it, and was prescribed by somebody like higher up and smarter than him, you know, like gonna say it. It just, he believes that,
more years.
yeah, like, you know, he's only a pain specialist, not a general practitioner, but it's fine. Yeah, like he just believes that these were better and that I shouldn't be on these, and it's been very consecutive with most doctors I've seen. I literally went to Toowoomba because I refused to go to my last doctor again. I went back to Toowoomba to my one good doctor that I've had in the 11 years, and I'm like, do I just come see you every like 3 weeks? Which that in itself, it's like a 3-hour trip there, a 3-hour trip back. That's a lot of spoons.
That's a lot of spoons. Yeah, I think that whole concept is tied really heavily into a common problem that a lot of people face when they have invisible illness. Hasn't been my path specifically, but a lot of people face the stigma or assumption that people are just trying to get certain medications. Obviously, most commonly prescription drugs that people use recreationally. I've heard that from people with especially physical invisible illnesses a lot before, because a lot of the time it is heavy pain, and a lot of heavy painkillers are used as recreational drugs. And so a lot of doctors will sort of not believe you or try and talk you out of, or not allow you to have medication that you really should be having. I'm not a huge fan of prescription drugs. I'm definitely not advocating for anyone to be on prescription drugs at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about people who need it to live an average life. The reason that these medications exist, and they're assumed to be essentially drug addicts, especially if you're young.
Yeah.
Especially
I was
if you're
like,
a young
23 with my car accident. So I spent most of my 20s in high amounts of pain.
Yeah.
And I would constantly, oh, you're too young for this. It turns out I also have PCOS, and I've had those symptoms for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's like all of these things. But another thing that I want to touch on is a lot of people, because they don't want these medications, they do turn to marijuana. And it is now becoming a more acceptable thing. But it's also very expensive to get medical marijuana, and the doctors generally don't like you having it. It actually doesn't work for me. It sets off my nerve pain, and I can feel like I'm just laying on a fire ant's nest. It doesn't help me sleep. I, have tried medical, all of that stuff. It doesn't work. But
it increases my pain.
yeah. But most people, for the people that it
is,
works on, it works so much better.
Yeah.
And they don't want to
that it
be
works
on
incredibly
Valium
well.
and this and that, and Tarjan, morphine patches and stuff. We don't want to, that's the biggest thing. We don't want to be on anything.
No, we would much rather
pain,
not have to be on them.
Yeah.
We would much rather not have to be on those things. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't want to run the risk of getting addicted to things. We don't want to have to wake up every day and remember all these pills, or
Do you
remember
think I
them before we go to bed.
traveling and having my little bag?
Planning out a little baggie of
Yeah. And Tofu knows this because we live together, but I hate taking prescription medication. There's lots of reasons why, and I'm sure we'll touch on that on another episode, but I really, really despise it. I don't like it. It's not good for me. It's not good for my brain. And that was one thing I had to come to terms with, is because my symptoms have been getting worse over the last couple of years. I don't know whether that's because I'm getting older, or who knows, more traumatic events, who knows. And I had to start doing something because I've just haven't been able to sleep, and it's been really affecting me really badly. But having prescription medication that I can take has helped dramatically over the last 6 weeks. It has really helped me, especially with my headaches and migraines and stuff, and just I'm working very busy. I'm very busy with work and stuff at the moment, so it has really helped quite a lot. But getting them, I was watching my GP do all of the shit that she has to do on the computer just to prescribe me Valium.
Yeah.
And I only get 15 of them.
Yeah.
Like, I know
They
that
can
doesn't
see
sound...
now every medication you get as well.
Yeah,
so
they can
doctors
see.
should not be sitting there going, I gave you a script of Valium 3 months ago, you shouldn't need it yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually,
Like,
I
she
don't
was
want
pretty...
it, but I need it. And if you then, run out of those medications and you're like, because I have lowered most of mine to see, like, with a doctor, I haven't just been like, woo, let's like just do this however I want to do it. But when you
See what
don't have
happens.
it, like with my slow release painkillers, I have flared for the last 2 weeks and I'm still trying to study and have 2 businesses and, do family things and stuff like that. But a switch flipped for me the first time I didn't have those medications. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot actually function.
Yeah.
Like, you don't realise how much better you are.
Yeah.
And that's like, being in conjunction with physio, massage, all of that stuff, like everything else that you have to do to like work together, even just having the medication and seeing the physio, it's so much better than just seeing a physio. And I hated it as well. For the first 6 months after my car accident, I had severe whiplash. I have bursitis. 3 days after my accident, I woke up, I couldn't move my arm. And I was still like, no, I don't want it. Just give me Panadol. And then it's like, oh, actually, this is helping me be a human.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but unfortunately it's a necessity.
Yeah.
Kind of like drinking water.
You want to drink more water. You'll feel better if you drink more water.
Just drink more water.
Yes, I mean, if the other option is not being able to function as a human being, or there are lots of circumstances where certain medications might not even just help you function on a day-to-day basis, but might also aid your long-term recovery as well.
Yeah.
Especially things like pain medications, because pain medication, your pain decreasing inherently will also reduce things like swelling and issues that come from that.
Yeah.
And so it can actually, for some, depending on what issue you're dealing with, it might actually help you recover permanently or semi-permanently in the long term, as well as just help you function on a day-to-day basis. So you might actually be hurting yourself by not doing it.
Yeah. And I discovered that. Like I said, going to the physio or even getting a massage, if I'm really bad and I have like half of a Valium beforehand, it allows them to work on me more instead of like my body fighting it. It actually helps, and I'm, instead of almost throwing my money away because I'm refusing to do all of the other steps that I have to do, and I'm like, no, this one's going to be it. All I need is that, nothing else. Ignore that. We'll just put like, pillows on it and ignore it. But, like it is like chronic illnesses, same with mental health, physical health, all of that stuff. It's not just one thing is going to fix you.
Yeah.
Like, and there's nothing that's going to fix you, but still it's like baking a cake. Like, you need all of the ingredients, and if you don't have a key ingredient, which medication is, diabetics need it. Like, there's so many things that medication is actually good for, and if you use it correctly, and if you get a good doctor that's going to work with you. Like, I've tried 20 different medications for like different symptoms that I have, and most of them have been crapola. One extremely, extremely bad. I'm glad that I was checked into a mental health ward for that one. But
one thing that's really common that I think is one reason why pain medication helps a lot is anyone who has mental health things going on will understand this. But if you have symptoms that are similar to a panic attack or an anxiety attack, it's very common for your body to just go, oh, we're having a panic attack, but you're actually not. And pain has those symptoms. So pain can very often give you more extra inflammation. It can make your heart race. It can make you breathe heavier. It can do all of those things. Chest pain, headaches, things like that. They're all panic attack symptoms. And your body going into a panic attack or an anxiety attack is also your body going into a fight or flight response, which is a very detrimental place to be in permanently. So if you can have medication that helps slow down or soften the amount of pain that you're having, it's going to stop your body from going into that stressed place and having all of that cortisol get smacked back into your body all of the time.
And your hair.
And yeah. Yeah, cortisol's not good for your hair. Anyway.
Side note.
Yeah, having all of that stress hormone, which is cortisol and a few other things, pumping through your body all the time. Your major organs aren't working properly. Your brain's not functioning at full capacity. Your heart's not functioning at full capacity. All of those things are so detrimental to your health. But if we can just have a pain medication to just stop the pain a little bit, it can help slow down that whole process. And I am well aware of that process within me. I can see myself going into a panic attack.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I know what's happening right now. I need to do something. And that's when I'll, have something.
Yeah, the steps that you've already worked at that,
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not actually having a panic attack. My mental health is not being triggered right now. I'm just in a lot of fucking pain. And I don't need to be. So that's why I think being on prescription pain medication is really important. Yeah.
Well, now that we've sort of talked a little bit about about experiences with doctors and I guess going through the diagnosis
Prescription.
challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who maybe suspect that they might have an invisible illness or maybe have suspected it for a long time or just starting to suspect it, how to go about getting that diagnosed, how to go about helping themselves maybe?
So number one thing is definitely you'll probably have friends that also have some things that, will be the same as you. And so do what I did and be like, do you have a good doctor? And as much as Google can be bad, it's still, if someone's says something like fibromyalgia, you can Google it and be like the symptoms. And obviously don't put yourself into a panic, but it is good to go in a bit educated, because if you go in and be like, I have pain all the time and I am like this and blah, 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 they will just be like, you just want drugs. And that's not the case. But having some form of education also for me, it helped bring my anxiety down a bit, because I understood a little bit about what discussion we were going to be having. It's not an easy road. It's literally, like I said before, my legs going numb made doctors go, oh, there is something, actually. There might be a thing here that we need to do.
And we hope that for you guys it doesn't take legs going numb.
No, and literally all I did was water a bit of this big, my plants and stuff like that, and then went and laid down and then couldn't get up. Another thing though is if you talk to the doctor and they refuse tests and they refuse anything, ask for them to put it in your chart that they have refused, because that's usually when they're like, oh, if this goes bad, I'm going to be liable if I put this in here. So let's just, it doesn't take them much to do a blood test or to order a CT or anything like that. And talk to your friends that may have something similar and be like, what test did you have? Because then you're also going to know the cost. I got a bit of a payout from my car accident, which was gone within a few years because, this test and that test and
it's incredibly
physio and all of that stuff. But it's not cheap to get a diagnosis, and we're much more lucky here than say America, but it's still, unfortunately you might have to ask for help. I hated it and I refused, and that's another reason that I potentially may have become worse. I truly think me refusing and being a tough little bish and being like, I don't need pain meds, those kind of things I feel has made it worse, because the impact for the first 6 months was horrific and I could have made it easier on myself. And just little things that you don't even realize are going to put a dent in your life. You're like, oh, okay, well, that's great.
I think that absolutely, I completely agree with all of those points. And the point that you made about saying to your doctor if they refuse to do a test to put it in writing for you was one that I got in the last a piece of advice that I got in the last couple of years was really helpful to me. And I think overall the overall message that all of those things that you said is sending me is just be very prepared to advocate for yourself.
Unfortunately,
Don't try and deny what you need.
Yeah.
Don't try and deny what you need. Go in there and do the work yourself. Unfortunately, you shouldn't have to. We literally pay people to do this for us.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it seems to just be the way that it is. You have to be really prepared to advocate for yourself, get knowledgeable, and don't deny help when you need it.
If
Don't
your
settle,
doctor is
absolutely.
crappy, keep hunting. Like, it's
Go
going
find another one.
to rip your soul out of your body.
Yes.
But, like, when you find a good doctor, I literally cried for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, after the good doctor. And it's just, like, having somebody actually be like, I believe you. Like, she said to me, like, fibromyalgia is a lifelong thing. You're going to be on this medication for life. I'm happy to prescribe all of this for you if you come seeing me. I'm like, yes, I want one doctor. I don't want to have to try and shop and find, like, the kind of doctor that works for me, because they are all different, and some of them have no idea about chronic illnesses or chronic pain. And so you do have to, like, take them on dates almost.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
You got to get to know them, and don't just like dating. Don't settle. Find somebody that works for you, that you feel like you can talk to, whether it's, you know, somebody is the same sex as you, a younger doctor, anything like that.
Yeah,
like,
that makes you comfortable and you feel like it's
you being
advocating for you
comfortable
as well.
is going to get you so much further, instead of you being like, ugh, and white knuckling every time you have to go to the doctor because you put it off. And I have.
Yeah.
A number of times.
I think a lot of people in that similar situation have.
One thing, if you are going to a doctor for any kind of invisible pain, migraines, anything, even mental health professionals do this as well. They're going to ask you to keep a diary of your pain, whatever it is, because they are trying to find some sort of pattern.
And a baseline.
Yeah. A lot of diagnoses do have a pattern, which is absolutely amazing, because as soon as they can see that, they can be like, that's exactly what it is, which is amazing. So if you want to, it can be really confronting because you try to ignore it as much as you can. There's apps. I actually have an app called Finch, and it's super cute, but you can keep a diary on there. Look it up, it's really adorable. But yeah, you can keep a little diary on there, and it gives you points for keeping a diary. It's like, goes, yay, thanks for putting an entry in, and it's like fun and happy, so it helps take the sadness out of it, because it can be really confronting and depressing. Writing down, this really hurts right now and has hurt for the last 4 hours, or I have a migraine, I have a migraine, I have a migraine, I still have a migraine, like things
Still
like
got a
that.
migraine.
Yeah, like I took this medication, didn't do anything. I did this, didn't do anything. You know, typing all of those things or writing all of those things down can really suck, but the doctor is going to ask you to do it.
Some awesome tips there from amazing Diamond. I would just like to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, Diamond. I know this is a really heavy subject and it's really, really important for a lot of people. If you do need help with anything, I know we've probably said it a bunch of times already, but feel free to reach out to any one of us or anyone that you've got close to you. Invisible illnesses are really hard, but there are people out there that care for you for sure. So thank you so much, Diamond, for talking about this and sharing your experience. We are so, so grateful for you.
Absolutely. It was amazing to have our first guest.
Yes,
We have another one in a few episodes, which we're also really excited for. So look out for that. And thank you so much to Diamond for being on the episode.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us to Scream into the Void today. Remember, the void is always here for you. We've got you. If you loved this episode and our others, we'd love to hear from you. We regularly put up discussion opportunities on our Instagram stories, so look out for those after each episode. If you'd like to show your support, please check out our Instagram for links to Tofu's crowdfunding online store or her Patreon, where all of your contributions go to funding free work for fellow sex workers. Our Instagrams are at nerdfucks, NERDFUX, at Aidan Ray, AYDANREI, and at In the Void Podcast. Bye! Do something kind today. Mwah.